Last year, we withdrew a lot less cash, £81 billion.
I mean, it does feel like cashless, it's a runaway train at the moment. It's changing so fast.
Clearly, lots of you are concerned about the future of cash, given the rise of contactless payments.
We're constantly being told cash is dead. The media is bombarding us, telling us that we're in a war on cash.
By 2018, just 28% of payments in the UK were in cash, and that number is set to fall.
Cash is dying, cash is dirty, cash is history.
So many transactions now done
Don't
without
use it.
cash. Just
Yeah.
don't handle it.
Fundamentally, the problem is it's costing a lot of money to maintain cash across the country, whether that is cash machines themselves, whether it's counter services and things like post offices.
Millions of people will struggle to access coins and notes as we move towards a cashless society. The use of cards has increased while a record number of cash machines and bank branches are closing.
So, we wanted to know, is cash actually dead? We've noticed the banks and the governments haven't bothered asking the people. So we have.
Almost everyone knows the Visa brand, one of the most trusted and recognizable in the world.
What we see in the media today reflects the views of those that are harbouring a cashless agenda, which is the payment institutions, the banks, and the big corporations. Many people have bought into this messaging, this onslaught, and what's effectively happened now is lots of these people have had the wool pulled over their eyes.
But I quite like not having it on me. I quite like the security that comes with a card. I like the fact that I can walk around and think, somebody takes my wallet, they're not taking my physical cash.
It's just the times it's changing. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody's on card now and technology is changing. So people don't need cash.
We're not going to reverse it. So I think it's a case of moving forwards in the situation that we have.
This is what the banks want you to think. But is everyone prepared to drop cash?
Many people think that cash will continue to be around in this cashless society, the so-called cashless society. The agenda is to totally destroy cash and to leave card as the only way for people to pay. So the truth is, even for those in society that use cash infrequently, the reality is that even these people want cash to be available in society. Whether they use it every day or not is kind of irrelevant. The point is that they want it to be available. It's time that we hear the voices of the majority and not the biased messaging that we get through the media.
It would. It'd piss me off if it had to pay by card, yeah.
It does cut people off not using cash. It does cut a lot of people off.
Just absolutely ridiculous. You should have a choice, shouldn't you? I mean, if people want to pay by card, fair enough. But if people want to pay by cash, let them do that, you know what I mean?
A lot of banks have shut, haven't they? They've shut in the last 5 or 10 years, haven't they? And everything's online.
I think they'd exploit people, yeah.
They don't care about us?
No, I don't think they do, no.
Sometimes it is a bit like we don't exist.
Everything's hailed as progress without it actually, we don't know if it's progress. Like for the majority of us, we're like, you know, so long as my personal lifestyle isn't disrupted too much, I'll just carry on with it.
Banks obviously do not want cash to exist if they can avoid it because it costs them money.
I think because I've spent some time on the inside of banks, they are very profit conscious and everything has to pay its way. And I think the situation that they've got themselves in is that over the years, and it's over quite a long period, they have dismantled the services which you can actually get when you walk into a branch.
Big money-earning banks who have been taken from us forever should give us something back.
I think there is a plan, and that plan's been worked on for years.
It's all about control at the end of the day. We're between a rock and a hard place. We have a government compelling us to do stuff and incentivising it, and it's not a liberal democracy when we do that.
If you upset the authorities, then you may find that you won't be able to get your bread and butter in Aldi.
Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Give them a hand, they'll take your arm. And I don't think that's freedom. I don't think that's a liberal democracy. And we're going to increasingly become more like China and other totalitarian regimes. And it seems like the British public are giving it away.
So tell me, what does cash mean to you?
Cash, you've got freedom. Without cash, you've got no freedom. So it really is that simple.
It's fantastic technology. Very few people
think about it, it's actually very difficult to counterfeit. You can't, of course, store data on this. You can steal my cash, but you won't get my identity from it. And it's washable.
Me personally, I prefer cash because I don't always carry a card, I don't always have my phone on me. So I need cash to do that. And when I go into shop and they say, well, we're wearing a card, well, then I'll take my business elsewhere.
You can just like tap your card thinking that you're not spending that much and then be into your overdraft and be in trouble.
So cash undoubtedly serves essential purposes in society. Cash maintains people's privacy. It's inclusive for everyone in society, from children to old people. Cash helps people live a life without debt. There's been an ongoing war on cash. Cash has often been cited as one of the main tools for money laundering. But one of the things that came out fairly recently was the Panama Papers, which highlighted quite clearly that cash represents very much like a drop in the ocean compared to what digital payment networks can provide for financial crime. And the latest attack on cash has very much come from COVID, and it's been villainised as basically a public health hazard.
COVID has a lot to answer for.
It's because nobody washes their hands when they're handling money from one person to another, so it gets very dirty very quickly, doesn't it?
Did you know that World Health Organization did a report during the first lockdown saying that cash was safe to use?
Really?
Yeah.
No, I did not know that.
Do you find that interesting?
I do find that interesting.
March 2020. Bill Gardner writes a report for the Daily Telegraph in which he claims the World Health Organization advises against using cash. It was misinformation. Cash was and is as safe as ever. But you know what happened next? The government, the NHS, companies and businesses still pretend that cash isn't safe to use.
According to consumer group Which, there have been over 2,500 reports of shops in the UK declining cash payments during the coronavirus crisis.
And, you know, if you think back to the last couple of years with the pandemic, all of those trends that we've seen over the past decade have just completely snowballed. And so now we're in a place where cash makes up, you know, around about a fifth of payments.
I had to travel miles around just to get shopping for like a day, and I was fuming, absolutely fuming.
I do feel as though we're being forced down a cashless society, using card rather than cash.
I think the banks or the powers that be have used this opportunity to push forward an agenda that they have to go cashless, for sure.
The COVID pandemic has been very kind of convenient for those who would like to see the end of cash.
So what we see now coming out the other side of the latest UK restrictions at least is very much a sense of, in some cases, fear of cash.
I am noticing occasionally bumping into situations where somebody doesn't want to take my money, which is weird because I've always been of the impression that if I've got money, you want to have it, right? That there's some kind of motivation, shall we say, there that we would engage in some kind of exchange and you'd like to have money.
Without cash, we are the disadvantaged because we're going to go to a system that doesn't have our interests at heart. Doesn't matter what he said.
I know the banks would profit from a card-only society.
Fighting out of the blue corner, here is Jermaine the Pig Facey!
Literally everything's online, no cash, no reception, everything's just online. So that's when I started actually looking around thinking, this is a bit like, I don't like it. I'm an old school guy, so I like to have cash in my pocket. And Brixton Street Gym, this is a community gym, so kids, unemployed people, they got cash in it. So this is how they pay with cash. The agenda is literally getting everyone on this like barcode type life, whereas you're tracked everywhere you go regarding when you spend your money, where you travel, where you enter a building, you know, all these natural born freedoms that we've had as a kid, they're literally taking it away from us. The banks are literally there for themselves. They say they're there for the community and they want to actually make it beneficial for you to use this bank, that bank, but it's a business. They're a business. They're not here for the people.
Cash used to be a core part of the commercial bank's offering, but with the onset of the pandemic, it's basically accelerated the rate at which bank branches have been closing. They were already closing at quite a fast rate before COVID. It feels to me that COVID's been used as an excuse almost to accelerate this programme of bank branch closures across the UK. The closure of bank branches is causing an issue across society on many different levels. So obviously you've got the closure of banks removing ATMs from people to be able to take cash out, but also on the flip side of that, we've got small independent businesses across the country who depend on cash for their day-to-day lives. But the problem for them is being able to take that cash to a bank. So they can't withdraw their coin floats, they can't deposit their takings at the end of the day. And that's basically causing a massive threat to the acceptance of cash across this country. But while this is happening, we are being constantly told by the banks that they're on our side and they're here to support us.
Are they?
No.
Yes, well, the bank adverts, I don't know, they all seem to think they need a strapline. And we've had many, many straplines over the years, but some of the ones that we're getting at the moment is Lloyd's, for example, with the horse. Beautiful horse galloping across the screen, we're by your side. Halifax closed in October, but every time you see an advert that says, we're a people business, that is more annoying than anything else, I think. So I do think that the banks have rather lost their way in terms of the advertising symbols and slogans that they use is now a departure from the reality of what people experience.
Without local facilities to deposit cash and accept cash, it's going to cause the costs of cash to go up, which will also impact a business's ability to accept cash, and also it will make cash basically more inconvenient for businesses and the public to use. This will naturally just feed us through into this cashless world, where we'll be foregoing our freedoms and our choices that we have in society.
Human interaction as well. When you're at the till and I want to buy something, everything's bleep, 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 bleep. Yeah, all that sort of bullshit.
Fast, there's no interaction, it's just tap and go. And it's the little ones, the little independents that are being made to go cashless, where they shouldn't be. More the high street banks they get rid of, the less chances are going to take cash because they can't bank it. You don't get Mr. Bank go to Tesco's or any of the big supermarkets or any of the big brands and go, oh, you only have to take card now. They don't do it, do they? They don't get dictated to like these smaller places that says, oh, you can't come and bank around here.
It's a business model, cashlessness. If you pay by card, there are fees to pay. If they can remove some of the friction of exchanging cash, depositing that cash, and making a kind of one-to-one, a peer-to-peer payment, as it were, then they can cream off fees. So there's a real incentive for them to do away with cash and have people paying by card or paying digitally, because there's no risk that people are spending money in other ways. They can maximise the fees that they're getting.
So what we've already seen over the past decade, to be honest, as cash use has declined, is that payment providers are actually increasing their fees for businesses to use their services. So obviously what that means and who it hits the hardest is your small, locally owned independent businesses who are effectively being forced to accept card and then pay these increasing fees. So it seems very likely that in this cashless world, that this digital payment monopoly would result in fees going up even more than they already have been over the last 10 years. These costs are already being passed on to customers, and obviously as these costs increase, they'll continue to be passed on. What that's going to result in is obviously bigger profits for these big corporations that operate in the UK and elsewhere, and you know, what ultimately happens with those profits is they get taken out of this country and put into a tax haven, and their fair share of tax isn't paid.
Yeah, they're just interested in the money and the power.
Part of the plan was introducing contactless. It was fascinating that previous to contactless coming along, we were all told that you must use a PIN number to protect your card security. And then suddenly we were told, oh, don't bother with a PIN number. We don't worry about that now. You can just do contactless. The bottom line is that my company and I focused on making cash more readily available to the UK public, and it worked. In 1998, there were 25,000 ATMs in the UK, but almost 20,000 of those were at bank branches. It would be a disaster if that was the case today, because there are almost no bank branches, because the bank branches have gone, taking their ATMs with them in most cases.
Free-to-use cash machines are being closed at a record rate of 250 every single month.
The Banking Alliance Link says they're being phased out because we're taking out less cash.
You know, at the end of the day, they're making a profit all the time, and they're doing everything to make a profit. That's why they're knocking the machines off.
At the same time as contactless was launched, organisations like Visa were working to eliminate cash. Visa tried to make the London Olympics cashless, and I actually fought a campaign leading up to the London Olympics to stop that happening.
Please welcome the chairman of the London 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games, Sebastian Coe.
I was forever pestering Lord Coe, saying to him, what's going on with Visa? What are they doing? X, Y, and Z, it's not right. And in the end, Visa phoned me and said, please stop phoning Lord Coe. And I simply told them, you stop trying to make the Olympics cashless and I'll stop phoning Lord Coe. And then I put the phone down. Cash is a pillar of democracy. I think we need it because it ensures that we cannot be totally monitored, that we have some privacy, we have some rights to choose. And unfortunately, there are more and more organisations around the world and more governments that are taking the kind of totalitarian approach that they want maximum control of their citizens. Clearly, China is always held up as a great example of this, but it's a spreading disease. All around the world now, in Africa, in Asia, and indeed here in Europe, we can see governments working to control their citizens more. And how is that in the interests of the citizens? I would argue not at all. So we need to fight that, and cash is an important part of the struggle against the total control of individuals by governments.
Banks, financial institutions, and the powers that be are pushing a cashless agenda. They're trying to make cash weird. But cash isn't weird. Cash is wonderful. Cash is freedom. Cash is not outdated. Cash is not spreading COVID. So, where does this all leave us? The people.
What needs to happen to stop a cashless society?
We need to stop it. We, the consumer, need to stop it because basically we shan't just lie down and be rolled over.
The fact is 40 million of us want to use cash and we have a right to do so. And we must continue to have that right.
I generally have in my pocket a money clip with cash and I always carry it on me. And it's almost a just in case. If you're gonna go out for a meal, pay cash, tip the waiter in cash. I know in America it's a standard thing. We can do it here too, and it will keep it alive.
Organisations like the Brixton Pound to come forward with those new solutions that are based on the things that we most value, which is our connections to each other, our capacity to support each other, our capacities to grow together.
It's clear to me that the banks have given up on cash, and it's up to us as a society to make sure we can keep it. We need to embrace new solutions that support the use of cash in our country, but remove that dependence on banks.
We all need a community to grow, and hence, if you're just using cards, you ain't talking to your local community, you ain't talking to your local shop person.
So once we lose cash, we're not going to get it back. I don't think we should let it go.
This isn't like analog TV being switched off and digital being available to everybody. This isn't like that at all.
The loss of cash is not an inevitability. We still have a choice.
If you're going shopping or you're looking to eat out somewhere and there are two different places you could go for the one which provides cash.
Buy locally, there's a lot of corner shops, market stores that actually rely on cash, and by literally shopping locally, that helps them feed the community.
The retailer or service provider is saying, well, I'm sorry, we don't accept cash. Then you have to say, well, in that case, I'm going somewhere else. Tell them you're going somewhere else and go somewhere else.